A most important aspect of me joining Liminal was to basically the tremendous amount of opportunities
Some of the biggest myths about security.
to invest in security. We cannot negotiate on security. We do audit them on a very regular basis.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food is Mughlai biryani.
So Hilal, your role is specifically very interesting because security is so important for a company like ours. How do you stay ahead in the world of cybersecurity, and how do you make sure that we are always one step ahead? Our customers are safe, their data, their investments are safe. How do we ensure all of that?
So, as you mentioned, like security is something that's not supposed to be negotiated, right? So there's no zero negotiation policy on security. So whatever we have to do to basically make sure that our customer trust is preserved, we do that. And in order for us to basically stay ahead of our adversaries, so what we do is we constantly innovate. We evolve like basically the controls that we actually use. So we truly believe that what worked for us yesterday is not going to work for us tomorrow. So in order for us to achieve some of those things, we have to have constant vigilance across our infrastructure, across our applications, and basically we need to ensure that the basic principles are met with respect to ensuring that the trust and security is actually maintained. One of the things that's important is for us to basically be complete visibility across our threat landscape, be it in terms of basically the malicious users, or it can be hackers, or it can be nation state actors, whoever it is. So we want to make sure that we are constantly monitoring those kind of attacks, and the detection basically like that we do has to be top notch. So we cannot actually wait for an incident to happen. So for us, being proactive is very, very important. And Liminal being a fintech company, so it ultimately deals with basically people's assets, and we cannot negotiate on security. So for us, security comes first, and there is basically like complete support that's required for us to invest in security. And we do believe that like security is going to be extremely important aspect of our business going forward as well. So we are always basically like charting our roadmap with respect to basically making security like the first class citizen of the company.
So tell me about some of the biggest myths about security. I mean, we hear so much encryption, two apps to sign in, the duo part of it.
So there are myths on the both sides, right? So sometimes we see in movies like Matrix or something like that, people just bang on the keyboard and they crack encryption, right? And sometimes like we see somebody has to basically like unlock a computer in like 5 seconds, and somehow they're able to do that. And somehow sometimes we feel that okay, they can basically like overcome any kind of controls like biometric controls or things like that with snap of their fingers. Like it doesn't happen like that. It's a very boring job. So we have to dig through data, we have to dig through different logs and things like that to identify it. It takes a long time. And this is very systematic, it's very scientific way of getting things done. So the myth is that, okay, yes, a lot of these things are very glamorous. It's not true. So most of these things are like really, really hard work. And the vigilance that we need to maintain is very, very important. So the other myths are basically like it's very difficult to get into security. It's not, right? So all you need is basically you need to be smart. You need to be able to basically like make decisions that are going to be intuitive. You need to trust your gut, and has some really good intuition towards basically being somebody who actually creates solutions out of nothing. So if you have that kind of curiosity, and you are like by nature, if you are curious, you are already a security guy. So that's something that actually is a myth, that it needs like a lot of education and training and things like it doesn't. You can become a hacker even without having to have that kind of education. So other myths include basically like that every hacker is an introvert. It's not true. So yes, there's a lot of security professionals basically grow in their careers at the same time being extroverts. So yeah, there are a lot of myths, and basically some truth to that as well.
Great. So let's talk about certifications. Certifications are a huge part of validating that we are secure, our systems are secure, that we adhere to certain best practices. What are some of these must-have certifications in our domain?
So there are multiple basically certifications, both from the regulatory side, which is like the business side, as well as the tech side, which is the technical compliance side.
Mhm.
So we do a lot of certifications, right? So we do like the SOC 2, which is the security operations control certifications. Then we have the ISO certifications that we do. Then we do the FIPS, which is basically certification related to cryptography that we have to do. Apart from that, there's some regulatory certification that we need to do that are designed by the regulatory bodies. Or
So each regulatory body creates their own
so it
certification.
depends on like which where are we doing business. So for
Right.
example, in Singapore, right? So we have to have basically like a certification from MAS, which is the Monetary Authority of Singapore. So they have to basically like give us go ahead green signal before you go ahead. So for us to basically certify with them, it's very important. Similarly, in Dubai, for example, or UAE, we have to have a water certification.
Right.
Apart from that, there are some certifications that are designed for specifically for crypto industry, like a double CSS certification that's only applicable to blockchains, Web3, digital assets, and things like that. So we had to do them as well.
Can you talk a little bit about the CCSS certification and how do we, what do we do as part of that certification?
So as part of that certification, so there are technical as well as operational controls that are getting tested. So the technical controls include basically the strength of your cryptographic protocols, your algorithms, the strength of your environment in which it has been deployed, ensuring that there is no gaps in terms of basically using some weak hashes and things like that. So on the technical side, you also want to basically like test your environment. Like say, for example, it cannot exist on its own. So whatever modules you are using, like say, CSPM modules or CPM modules that you are going to be using, or key management systems, for example, if you're going to be using, they have to be the basically the standard that match the CCS requirements, which is like similar to FIPS but slightly relaxed. So on the operational side, there has to be constant basically monitoring of administrative access, the change management, and any changes that are made to the product itself needs to be recorded and have to be immutable. So sort of some of those controls are basically part of the CCSS certification.
In this regard, do you also work with the product development team and on the other side with customers also?
So customer involvement will not be that much because for them they just use the product.
Mhm.
So, but they always like get a lot of comfort by seeing us actually doing these certifications because they get that validation that we do not cut corners and we are
Sure.
adhering to basically the industry standards. But of course, like as you mentioned, so we actually work very closely with the developers. We work closely with our engineering infra teams to ensure that some of these things are actually like basically by design, which
Mhm.
means that we don't have to basically think of that as an afterthought. So they are part of the product development process itself. So when you are basically developing products, you actually want to adhere them to the CCSS standards or other standards that you actually design. Only the testing process actually validates whether we have incorporated those controls.
This is very specific. So this is in the context of liminal. So
Mhm.
answer it a little carefully.
Sure.
What are some of the steps that we have taken at Liminal to protect our customers better?
So we have a best-in-class security operations center, and we have the best-in-class incident response process, and we have like the all the cutting-edge tools that we need to basically do both proactive security,
Mhm.
reactive security, as well as detection security
So proactive, reactive,
and detective.
and detection
So
security.
all of those controls are basically the top notch that we can have, and we don't shy away from investing in those. So for us, that's actually the first priority to ensure that all these controls are best in the industry, and we have enough skilled people to basically handle the tooling that's actually necessary for that. Apart from that, we do build our products based with security in mind, which means that even before we actually like start developing on a product,
Mhm.
so we have to have assurance that okay, it is going to have all the necessary security features as part of the product, which is basically includes your authentication systems. It includes your data security systems. It includes your logging and monitoring systems. It also includes basically your updating and patching systems, right? So we have to have follow that process, which is very very important. Apart from that, all these basically products, services, processes undergo like regular reviews. We do audit them on a very regular basis. And just shortly before you asked me about the certificate industry, basically compliance certifications and regulatory certifications that we do.
Mhm.
So those also actually validate the controls that we have, and they also
True.
use as part of our review process.
That's true. So, as the Web3 world is developing, a lot of young professionals want to get into this field, security, because everybody knows how important it is. Do you have some tips that you can share on how young professionals can actually take up a career with security?
Absolutely. So first, to begin with, I obviously like want to let people know that this is the place to be, right? So this is the domain which is actually going to explode in the next 5 years. So this is something that, like until today, right? So it has not been able to go mainstream, but in the next 5 years, is going to be mainstream. So if you're thinking about basically having a career in security and blockchain particularly, this is the best place to be. So which means that like you are going to be at a place where you are going to be a part of that revolution, which is going to basically change how people actually deal with the money, how they do transactions, how they do logistics, how they do innovation, all of those things, right? So you will be part of that revolution, right? So my advice is very, very simple. Just look it up, do your research, ensure that it's something that's interesting to you. There's obviously, this is technology that does not come as straightforward, so you have to basically invest some time into it. And once you are actually like comfortable with it, you identify the area that you want to work in. So because there are a lot of different domains in security that you could potentially work in. You can work on the application security, you can work on the incident response, you can work on the audit and review side, or you can work on the infra side, whichever security domain actually you prefer, which actually is of interest to you. So you can pick that domain and basically start gaining some expertise over it. There are no shortcuts. You have to do your hands on, you have to get your hands dirty, ensure that you get the proper training and get a lot of practical knowledge done. So that's the way you'll be able to basically like master the blockchain, Web3, and all those technologies. And rest assured, this is exactly where you want to be right now, so that in the next 5 years you're able to basically gain a lot more subject matter expertise on this.
Sounds really good. Tell us, Hilal, what inspired you to join Liminal? You've been part of so many industries, you've moved across in the CISO role. Now, with Liminal, what excites you the most?
So before joining Liminal, right? So I was doing some deep research into a couple of technologies. One was basically the post-quantum cryptography, and one
Post
was
quantum cryptography. Okay.
and I was also basically like doing research on new age fintechs. So in the new age fintechs, every time I did some deep research, it all basically started basically coming back to blockchain. It came back to Web3. It came back to decentralized identity. It came back to basically where all the custody wallets and things like that, where you manage your digital assets. So then I realized that okay, I'm not going to learn a lot by basically like from looking from outside to inside. I need to be part of the process. I need to build things. I need to basically get my hands right down in the middle of how the things are actually happening. So in order for me to basically like ensure that okay, I am getting the hands-on experience that I need, I get to learn a lot more stuff. And joining Liminal was very natural because they are actually doing those things which nobody else is doing in the market right now. And their research actually allows us to basically build products that are going to be like something that everybody going to be banking on. So I think I do believe that like part of the reason, not the part of the reason, I think the most important aspect of me joining Liminal was to basically the tremendous amount of opportunities for me to kind of grow as a professional, as well as learn like technology that's going to be changing the entire financial world in the next 5 years.
Fantastic answer.
Yeah.
Love that. What's your favorite food?
My favorite food is biryani, which is the Mughlai biryani.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
What about favorite activity?
Football.
Do you play football?
I do play football very regularly, yes.
Great. What a good way to stay fit. And what's your favorite place in the world?
Favorite place in world is Kashmir, where I'm from. It's the most beautiful place on the planet. Maybe universe, I don't know.
I'm sure.
So it is. I spent all my childhood there, so it's very close to my heart, and I miss it terribly.
Tell us about how do you derive your energy? Where do you find what activity or what do you do to stay energized and fresh?
So I think it's if I want to kind of like give a really straightforward answer, is basically like spending time with my family, and they'll literally actually take all the stress away from you. So if you, for example, when I play with my kids, they rejuvenate my basically like energy levels, right? So I feel fresh, I feel happy, I am in a place where I feel safe, comfortable, right? So all those things, right? So spending time with family is something that I truly enjoy. And when I'm on my own, for example, so I do play video games a lot. So and I'm mostly into role playing games, so you'll see me using the fantasy things and all that, like Baldur's Gate and all that. So yeah, so those are some of the things I do.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, most welcome. Thank you for having me.